I used to be the kind of person who jumped out of bed before the alarm could ring twice. Eyes still blurry, hand already reaching for the first cup of coffee. While the water was boiling, I was mentally listing everything I had to do that day. Maybe you're the same way. Many of us lived that way for years. Every morning felt like a silent race. And sometimes we didn't even know who we were racing against. I kept that pace even after turning 60, because I thought my body is still doing fine. Until one morning, I sat up, and my legs didn't want to follow. It felt like waking from a restless sleep, even though the clock said I'd slept over 7 hours. My back was stiff, my breath shallow, and there was this heavy feeling, as if someone had placed a sandbag on my chest. I sat there, in silence, and for the first time in years I heard a quiet whisper in my mind. This isn't how I want to start my day anymore. Have you ever had a morning like that? A morning where your body felt unfamiliar, not in pain, not exhausted, but simply not quite you. I want you to imagine this. There was a time when a few hours of sleep was enough to launch you into the day. But now you might need a little more time, a little stillness, before you fully arrive. It's not a sign you're getting weaker. It's your body gently saying, "We no longer live at that old rhythm." And from that moment on, I began searching for a new way to begin my mornings. Not with caffeine, not with noisy headlines, but with myself. Nothing fancy. Just 5 minutes, a light stretch, a slow, deep breath, and a warm glass of water with a few slices of ginger. That's it, but strangely, I felt like I had returned. Not to a place, but to this body, the one that has carried me for over 60 years. And I realized something. We don't have to start the day as if we're being chased. We can begin slowly, intentionally, with a different rhythm, gentler, but more connected. One of my patients, Michael, 72, told me he used to start his day by turning on the TV and scrolling the news while eating breakfast. My eyes were open, but my mind was still foggy, he said. After trying this 5-minute morning ritual, he told me, "I don't feel like a victim of the day anymore. I feel like the driver." And I believe he's right, because the real shift doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you begin with. Do you begin with yourself, or with someone else's demands? Do you start with your breath, or with the ringing of your phone? I used to begin with the whole world. Now I begin with me, and you can do the same. Starting tomorrow, I didn't plan to change my life that morning. All I knew was I didn't want to feel that way again, heavy, disconnected, out of sync. So I gave myself 5 quiet minutes the next morning, not to fix anything, not to achieve anything, just to be present. I sat on the edge of my bed. I placed both feet on the ground, and I let my breath arrive before my thoughts did. That was the start of something new. 5 minutes doesn't sound like much, but it became my lifeline, stretching slowly, letting my spine wake up one vertebra at a time, rolling my shoulders, rotating my ankles, breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the mouth, and then just sitting, with a warm cup of water in hand. That's it. But in those 5 minutes, I met myself again. Not the doctor, not the busy man, just the person inside this aging, still beautiful body. You know, after 60, the world doesn't slow down for us. So we must choose to slow down for ourselves. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. I once had a patient, Barbara, 69 years old. She said, "Doctor Ellis, I wake up tired and already behind. It's like the day starts without me." So I taught her my 5-minute ritual, and a week later she said, "It feels like I've taken back the steering wheel. Even if everything else is chaos, those 5 minutes are mine." And that's the magic. It's not about controlling the day. It's about choosing how we enter it, with intention, with softness, with breath. This ritual isn't a rule, it's a reunion. Between you and your body, between you and the moment, between you and the life you're still living. Fully, gently, and on your own terms. They say it takes 21 days to build a habit, but I believe you can feel a shift in just 7. After 7 mornings of this small ritual, I noticed something quiet but real. My breath no longer waited for me. It met me at the edge of the bed. My mind, which used to rush ahead, now paused beside me like a calm friend. My joints felt looser, my heart felt lighter, and my mornings no longer belonged to chaos. One of my patients, David, he's 65, said something that stuck with me. I didn't know how much I was rushing until I stopped. That's the beauty of this practice. It's not a performance. There's no right or wrong. You can do it sitting. You can do it lying in bed. You can do it with a cane beside you, or with stiffness in your knees, because it's not about perfection. It's about presence. And when we show up for ourselves each morning, we begin to feel safe again, in our own skin. It doesn't mean every day is easy, but it means you've built a place to return to, 5 minutes at a time. A place that says you matter. You're not behind, you're right on time. We don't need a new morning routine. We need a new morning relationship. One built on care, not expectation. And after 7 days, you'll begin to see the difference, not in your to-do list, but in your tone, not in your step count, but in your spirit. This is how change begins, with something small enough to repeat, but meaningful enough to remember. One morning, I added one more thing to my 5-minute ritual. Just one small, quiet thought. Thank you. Not to anyone in particular, just a whisper to the morning, to the air, to my body for waking up again. And that changed everything. You see, gratitude doesn't need a grand moment. It only needs your attention. The simple act of saying thank you. Before your phone lights up. Before the news begins. Before your calendar speaks. That centers you. It reminds you that this moment is enough. That your breath is a blessing. That your aging body is still your home. I remember Joan, a 71-year-old patient. She'd lost her husband recently, and she told me, "Dr. Ellis, I can't find peace in my mornings anymore." So we worked together. Her ritual became this: sit on the porch, warm tea in hand, one hand on her chest, and a quiet thank you. For anything, even just the breeze. Weeks later, she told me, "I still miss him, but now I also meet myself in the morning, and that makes me feel whole again." Sometimes the smallest addition is the biggest shift. Gratitude is not about ignoring pain. It's about remembering presence, even in grief, even in change, even in aging, when you pair presence with breath, and breath with a thank you, you begin to live more gently, and gentle is not weak, gentle is wise. Gentle is where healing starts. So if you're asking, can something so small really help me feel better? I say, try it tomorrow morning, before anything else. Place your feet on the ground, and quietly say, thank you. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are here. And that is enough. Tomorrow morning, your alarm may still ring. The world may still be noisy. The to-do list may still be long, but now you know. You can start differently, not because you have to, but because you deserve to. You deserve 5 minutes of stillness, 5 minutes of breath, 5 minutes that belong to no one else but you, and if 5 minutes feels too much, start with 3. If sitting up is too hard, start by lying there with your eyes closed and simply saying, I'm here. The point isn't the perfection of the practice. It's the devotion to yourself. Every morning is a threshold. Will you cross it in a rush, or will you step into it with care? You've lived many seasons of life. You've adapted. You've endured. Now it's time to live differently. not slower, but deeper, not with more tasks, but with more truth. This 5-minute ritual is not a magic pill. It won't erase age or grief or fatigue, but it will remind you every single morning that your life is still yours, that your body, even when tired, is still worthy, that your breath, when honored, can become your guide. You don't need a perfect routine. You need a beginning that belongs to you, so let tomorrow be that beginning, not because you're broken, but because you're becoming whole again. One breath at a time, one morning at a time, one gentle start. That says I'm here, and that is enough.